Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. I'm Wan Hakimah Wan Ibrahim. Today we meet again in microeconomic class. In this lecture, we are going to learn the topic title Cost of Production. Before we begin, let's have a look at the learning outcomes. So, by the end of this chapter, students should understand first, describe types of cost concept. And the second, should understand the difference between total cost, average cost, and marginal cost. And the third one, distinguish between short run and long run costs. And the last, differentiate between economies and diseconomies of scale. Okay, what are costs? Cost refers to the amount of money or expenses incurred to produce a particular quantity of output by the producer. In order to measure the cost of production, a firm should know which costs should be included and know how to measure it. Therefore, it is important for a manager to understand the concept of cost before taking any economic decision. Some of the concept costs are discussed below. Okay. Cost can be defined as opportunity cost. Opportunity cost refers to the cost of something is what you give up to get it. In addition to that, the cost of producing an item must include all of the opportunity costs of inputs used in production. Total opportunity costs include both implicit and explicit costs. Now we move to implicit costs. What is implicit cost? Implicit cost refers to the value of input services that are used in production but not purchased in a market. For example, self-owned, self-employed resources utilized in production. And the second one is implicit cost. What is implicit cost? Implicit cost refers to the value of resources purchased for production. For example, wages and salaries for workers, transportation and electricity. The total cost of production consists. The total cost of production. The total cost of business is the sum of implicit costs and explicit costs. The total cost of business is the sum of implicit costs and explicit costs. All businesses' costs can be classified into fixed and variable costs. Fixed costs refers to the costs that do not change when the firm alters the quantity of output produced. Fixed costs can be assets like building and equipment. For example, a company that produces kerupuk lekor is going to need a building and equipment in order to run his or her business. If we assume the building and equipment are leased, there is a monthly payment for each of them. For example, the company has to pay Rm 10,000 per month to cover the cost of lease. However, if company does not manufacture anything during the month, the lease payment still due in full amount. Then, it is important to understand the concept of variable costs as opposed to fixed costs. Variable costs are those costs that vary depending on company's production volume. Then, variable costs included direct material costs or labor costs. For example, a company that produces kerupuk lekor may have their variable costs that associated with the packaging of one of its products. As the company increases the products, the cost of packaging increase. Conversely, when the sale of product fall, the cost of production decrease. As we all know, cost of firm, which is total cost, is derived from both costs. Total cost equal to total fixed cost plus total variable cost, where fixed cost, which is TFC, and variable cost is TVC. In other words, TC can be defined as the sum of costs of all inputs used to produce goods and services. We have a look at this short run cost curve. Okay, first, from the vertical axis shows the cost of producing kerupuk lekor, while horizontal axis is quantity of output. First, the total fixed cost curve. This TFC has no relationship with output as shown by the horizontal curve. And the second one, total variable cost. Total variable cost curve. This curve changes due to the changes in quantity of output. And the last one, total cost curve. This total cost curve will not start from zero since total fixed cost has been incurred. Based on table cost, column 1 is the output produced by a firm from output 0 to 6. Then column 2 shows the total fixed cost. Total fixed cost shows a constant value throughout the production period. And then the column 3 shows the variable cost. This variable cost change as the output change. And then for the column 4 shows total cost. As mentioned earlier, total cost is the total up of fixed cost and variable cost. Column 4 shows the total cost. As mentioned earlier, total cost is total up of fixed cost and variable cost. Then column 6 shows average variable cost. Average variable cost refers to total variable cost of a firm divided by the total units of output, which is Q. Column 7 is average cost. Average cost is getting from total cost of a firm per unit of output Q. The last column, which is column 8, is marginal cost. Marginal cost refers to the increase in total cost that arise from an extra unit of production, or can be simplified as marginal cost can be simplified as change in total cost divided by change in output. Okay, now we see how these curves looks like. First, average fixed cost. Average fixed cost curve shows a negative slope, which implies that average fixed cost declines as output increase. Then AVC, which is average variable cost. Average variable cost reveals a U-shaped curve. Average variable cost reveals a U-shaped curve. Then average cost is U-shaped curve since it consists of average fixed cost and average variable cost. Lastly, shows the marginal cost curve. Now we discuss the relationship between marginal cost and total cost. There are three types of relationships. When when marginal cost is less than average total cost. Average total cost is decreasing. Then, when marginal cost is greater than ATC, which is average total cost is increasing. And the last one, when marginal cost equal to average total cost, where marginal cost causes the average total cost is minimum. Now we move to cost in long run. As we all know, in the long run, all of costs are variable costs. Long run average cost, which is LRAC, lies along the lowest points of short run average total cost curve. In other words, long run average cost is derived from a series of short run average cost curve, and also called as envelope curve, since it envelopes all the SRAC curve. LRAC is a U-shape, since it reflecting from economies of scale when it is negative slope, and this economy of scale when it is positive slope. LRAC curve is U-shaped due to the law of return to scale, which states that as the firm expands its size or scale of production, its long run average cost, which is LRAC, will decrease and increase at the latest stage. This can be explained below. The stage of economic scale will cause two circumstances to occur, which is, first, economies of scale. Economies of scale refers to advantages and benefits of a firm as it becomes larger and larger. Economies of scale can reduce long-run average costs. At the same time, economy of scale causes marketing economics, financial economics, labor economics, technical economics, and management economics. Managerial economics. And the second one, this economies of scale. This economy of scale refers to the problem faced by a firm as it becomes larger and larger. This economy of scale can increase long-run average costs. Then, at the same time, this economy of scale can cause problems like mismanagement, competition, labor, diseconomics. That's the end of this chapter. Thank you again for watching, and in the next topic, we will learn the topic of profit maximization. See you again next time. Bye-bye.